Alexia, not this one, has a question that is similar to what would be Adam's 10 bullets, and it is, what would be your top 5 life advices? Okay, this is a great question. And just like the question of what are your top 5 favorite films, I want to point out that my list of top 5 favorite films includes at least 30 movies. As long as we can agree on that caveat, so I give the same disclaimer for my top 5 pieces of life advice. Number 1, Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. It's not about you. What's not about you? Most things that you think might be about you. They're so much less about you than you think they are. And I'll get to that in a minute. So it's not about you. That's my first piece of advice. The more you hold to understanding that it's not about you, that you don't have to take it personally. And the second one goes along with this, which is nobody's keeping score. When a friend of yours says something and you're like, I can't let that stand. One question could be, why not? Who cares? Who's keeping score? Mostly nobody. It's not about you. Nobody's keeping score. So why would keeping score inform your reaction? Unless it was, that's all I'm saying is, we do a lot of scorekeeping in our head, in our personal emotional relationships. And I don't think it serves us. I don't think it has served me in my life. Let's say it that way. I don't feel like keeping score has served me. And when I really examined the things that I was keeping score about, they didn't matter as much as I thought they did. My third piece of life advice, and it is about considering your future and thinking about your future plans, which is always a really great idea. I have always submitted that prayer as a practice actually works because concentrating on the things in your life that are important to you is a great spiritual practice, which is why item number 5 of my top 5 pieces of life advice is to meditate. I've been meditating for almost 40 years now, and I'm terrible at it. My practice is abysmal, and even then it has brought me such untold benefits. But when you're prognosticating your future and thinking about it, which is, again, a really great practice, what kind of job do you want? What kind of place do you want to live? What kind of partner do you want? What kind of house, apartment, car, workshop, bench, tool, brush? All of these things are about thinking into the future. When you're thinking about the future, in addition to thinking about how things will be, I have always found it really important to think about how I want things to feel. So for me, I think I learned this the hard way of like, part of me was like, I just want to be working all day and working at my bench. And then I got a job in which I was working all day at the bench. And I was like, this sucks because this boss is terrible. And this is the kind of thing that, I don't ascribe to like fate brings you things that you're ready for or stuff like that. That doesn't truck with me. But I do notice that the things you're ready for do arrive to help you. And when you think about how the future will feel, like, I want to feel valued for my work. I want to feel like I'm contributing to something bigger. I want to feel like I'm making decisions that matter. These are all really great feelings to have. And the reason that it's good to think about them is because when that feeling arrives in the future, you've already considered it and you can recognize it. And you're like, oh, here we are. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me in my life. How will the future feel, not just be? This came up last night, and this is an old school thing of mine, which is to pay attention to surprising emotions. Pay attention to surprising emotions. Here's a story that I've never told publicly. Years and years ago, I was working in a theater, and this theater was taking a giant show to Japan. It was a big deal. This is like 30 plus years ago. And I was on the crew going to Japan. And my bestest friend at the time was also on that crew. He was not going to Japan. This was my bestest friend. We talked every single day, multiple times a day for years. We later on, we broke up, which is a whole different story. But at this moment, we were in contact every day, but we're also working at this theater company. And when we're going to Japan and I'm going to Japan and my best friend is not, he was kind of pissed about it. And he let me know that. He let me know that he kind of, that he really wanted to go to Japan, which is totally understandable. And then one of our crew members got injured, not too badly, but twisted a foot, and it looked like they may not go to Japan. And at that moment, I was assistant stage manager, so I was privy to the hiring decisions. They were talking about bringing my best friend to Japan with the crew. And my response to that was shocking to me. I was really upset about that idea. And I was like, what's going on? Why am I upset about the idea of my bestest friend coming on this great trip with me? What information is here in my psyche about why this is upsetting to me? I asked that question, and I'm really glad I did. I'm like, this is 94. What am I, 27? Something like that. And when I really examined it, here's what was going on. This theater, I had walked into this theater almost cold off of the street. And within a couple of weeks, I was an assistant stage manager. I now can see the skills, young me, the skills and enthusiasm and ease of being able to be, I can see what I was bringing to the table. Back then, I had no idea. But my boss there was like, oh, this guy, we're gonna make him assistant stage manager. He pays attention to the big picture. And that little promotion was sort of one of the first times I understood that my skills were special and that they were held in a really high esteem by my colleagues. And this was the first time that like my creative life and my employment life were sort of coming together. And I liked, how do I say this? Actually, I can only say this in contrast to my best friend coming, because this is what was going on in my head. Your bestest friend in the world might be invested in seeing you as an old version of you. This affects all friendships over time at different times in them. That the people we love can sometimes inhibit our growth by not being able to see its possibility inside of us. And what I could see was, if my best friend came, I would just be his friend when we went to Tokyo, as opposed to I would be this new entity who had skills and respect from his colleagues that I did not have from my best friend. And it was a really important life lesson in understanding. We remained besties, talking daily for years more. But it really helped me frame what I was getting out of that friendship and what I was not getting out of that friendship. So pay attention to your surprising emotions. There's often really, really important information in there if you're willing to ask questions instead of just look for blame. And then my last piece of life advice would be to meditate. I practice what would be called Vipassana meditation, which is sitting and thinking about it. John Kabat-Zinn of the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Clinic at Boston Hospital says meditation is basically just structuring the paying of attention. I don't have any specific advice about how you should meditate. I will tell you I've tried many different versions and they've all brought bonuses to my life. So it's not about you. Quit taking it personally. Nobody is keeping score. How will the future feel? Pay attention to your large and surprising emotions and meditate. Those are my 5 pieces of life advice. Alex Mckey asks, how do you choose between a passion that doesn't yet bring income and a job that does but doesn't bring joy? And how do you overcome the fear of starting new? Okay, those are 2 gigantic questions. How do you choose between a passion that doesn't yet bring income and a job that does? I have not had to choose in my, have I not had to choose in my life? Look, you got to make rent. You got to pay your bills. You got to take care of yourself and live and be a person. And don't get me wrong, I feel like, food should be universally available. We solved world hunger 40 years ago. The only reason there's hungry people is because it's profitable. Fight me on that one. But the passion that doesn't yet bring income can be done commensurate with a job that doesn't bring joy. And the real trick is to see, are you making progress towards a goal? Is the goal to make a living doing this, or is the goal to become independently wealthy doing the job you don't like and then doing the thing you want to do creatively? Both of those are approaches. But you can look at the arc of your life and see that you are making progress towards a goal. And in the transitioning from a career you don't like to a career you want, there is going to be a really difficult period where you don't yet have the job you want. And in those cases where I've had to suffer through jobs like that, like I was talking about Bicentennial Man, I loved working on that film. My supervisor on that film was terrible. I don't think he even remembers that I worked on that movie. My supervisor on that film was just, he created lots of drama, created lots of stress. None of us liked working for him, and it was a really rough gig. And I was on that show for 4 months. 3.5 of them were very unpleasant from an interpersonal standpoint, despite the fact that I made some objects that I surpassingly love. And then the second question, how do you overcome the fear of starting something new? By starting something new. That's an easy answer. Starting something new, I've talked in the past about getting to a point in a build where you've screwed up so massively, it's time to stop throwing good money after bad, and it's time to take the object you've been laboring over and chuck it and start from scratch. And when I've talked about that practice, I've talked about it like a muscle. It's gym work to do that, we're gonna start from scratch. Every maker confronts this at different builds. And the same goes true for starting. It's a muscle that you can build and get better at. So try weird things, try things outside your wheelhouse, but get used to putting yourself in that state of unknowing discomfort. And again, you can find low stakes ways to do that train your mind and your body and your heart to recognize the right circumstances when they arrive.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I wanted to briefly mention that you could become a tested member. I know, everybody is competing for you to become a member of their thing. What I want to express to you is that the Tested membership has become such an important part of the Tested family. We get tremendous feedback from the Tested members, and they expand the stories that we can tell and the things that we have access to, and you can become a part of it right now by clicking on the link below. See you in the chat.